Air Chief Marshal AP Singh, former chiefs, chairs, panelists, other distinguished guests, and veteran officers, members of the diplomatic community. I think there is one media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the 16th Jumbo Majumdar International Seminar. With the proliferation of unmanned systems, incorporation of emerging technologies in the aerospace domain, exploitation of space, cyber, and the weaponization of trade, technology, information warfare, and the near breakdown of the existing global order, the challenges for India have increased manifold. This audience is not only well aware of our threats, but also grapples with the strategy required to overcome the threats that are being posed to our national security. Enough has been spoken in the recent past on the dwindling fighter aircraft inventory of the Indian Air Force, the lack of adequate force multipliers like AWACS, AEWC, and the FRA, and the breakdown of trust between the Indian Air Force and the DPSUs due to the repeated unkept promises on deliveries for various reasons. Prime Minister Modi, in a statement during his state visit to Washington in June 2017, this is during the first Trump administration, stated, and I quote, "When India conducted surgical strikes," and he was referring to the 2016 strikes, "the world experienced our power and realized that India practices restraint but can show power when needed," unquote. A lot has changed since then with regard to the air power asymmetry between India and our northern adversary, China, which has already demonstrated sixth-generation fighter aircraft capability, which has created a buzz around the world. During the recent visit of Prime Minister Modi to the United States on 13th February, the offer of likelihood of the JSF F-35 being offered to India was made by President Trump himself. Now, whether the country decides to procure the F-35 or the Russian Su-57 or accelerates its own indigenous AMCA Tejas Mark II program is a moot question which the committee which has been formed under the Defense Secretary will look at and would have to answer. Coming to the theme for today's seminar, this focuses on the evolving dynamics of aerospace power with two power-packed sessions on aerospace power and future conflicts and the transformative technologies in aerospace power. With the advent of high-altitude platform stations or HAPS and the use of near space for air power applications, aerospace management has become complex and costly with the increasing use of this domain with manned-unmanned systems and autonomous platforms. The increasing use of satellites, which have become an indispensable part of warfighting, whether on land, sea, or air, poses its own challenges for gaining and retaining control of the aerospace domain. Exploitation of drones that extract an enormous cost on traditional air defense assets and the development of manned-unmanned teaming or collaborative combat aircraft are already proving to be game changers that are going to revolutionize air warfare. The second session on transformative technologies in aerospace power will discuss the role of offensive and defensive cyber and electronic warfare operations by the Indian Air Force. It will also have a talk on the exploitation of emerging and niche technologies by the IAF apart from the way forward for the IAF in view of the emergence of fifth and sixth generation platforms in our neighborhood. It is also encouraging for us to see young graduates from the Warfare and Aerospace Strategy program delivering two of the talks today, apart from two who have graduated from the Air War College at Alabama in the United States. It has been more than 3 years since the Ukraine conflict that continues unabated, and a year and a half since the conflict in the Middle East, where an uneasy truce is in place for the time being, which also is in doubt as per reports coming in, latest reports. The beginning of the year witnessed increasing geopolitical turmoil with the swearing in of the Trump administration in the United States that has actually left no part of the world unscathed. A dramatic twist to conflict termination in Ukraine can be expected, and with most European Union nations ramping up their defense budgets, newer technologies may be closer to mass production than we can actually imagine. Closer home, we witnessed an unprecedented delegation-level visit from the European Union led by its President Ursula von der Leyen that looks at increasing the Indo-US relationship and trade to a strategic partnership that includes defense and space at its core for the security and economic prosperity of its people. We actually need to hitch on this bandwagon, and you all would be glad to know that CAPS organized a session with the minister, that is the Commissioner on Defense and Security, along with the think tank community to brainstorm on this issue just last Saturday. Today's seminar is also a flagship annual event of the CAPS calendar dedicated to the memory of late Wing Commander Karun Krishna or Jumbo Majumdar, DFC and BAR, one of the most respected fighter pilots of the Indian Air Force. Born in erstwhile Calcutta on 6 September 1913, his maternal grandfather, Vomesh Chandra Banerjee, was the co-founder and the first president of the Indian National Congress. As KK was over 6 feet tall and well built, he acquired the nickname Jumbo, which stuck to him with him till his end. He joined the Royal Air Force College Cranwell in 1932, coming back to India in 1933 to join the newly formed Indian Air Force. Two of his cousins, J.N. Chaudhary and Hem Chaudhary, also joined the Indian Armed Forces, and J.N. Chaudhary went on to become the 6th Army Chief, while Hem Chaudhary was the first commanding officer of the Battle Axe Squadron. Jumbo was a daredevil pilot, a war hero, and one of the icons of the fledgling Indian Air Force. As a part of one squadron, he flew the Westland, Wapiti, and Hawker Hart aircraft, and taking over command of one squadron as a squadron leader in June 1941, when Burma fell to the Imperial Japanese Army, the squadron moved to Taungoo in Burma in January 1942. The very next day, Taungoo was bombed severely by the Imperial Japanese Army Air Force, but one squadron escaped damage because they had hidden their aircraft. Jumbo was raring for payback, and the Westland Lysander aircraft, which the squadron was equipped with primarily for the recce role, was actually modified to carry 2 into 250-pound bombs, and he flew solo over, flying at low levels over the Japanese airbase at Mai Hong Son, and destroyed the hangar and the aircraft parked inside. The very next day, he led the entire squadron on a similar bombing mission, destroying most of the airbase, and Jumbo was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for operations in Burma, apart from one squadron earning a citation from Wavell. He spent the next 2 years on staff and flying assignments and was promoted to Wing Commander, becoming one of the first from the Indian Air Force to reach this rank. Not one to stay away from action, in late 1943, he volunteered to fly in the European theater, forsaking his acting rank to fly in an operational role, and he became a squadron leader once again and converted to the North American Mustang aircraft. He joined the photo recce squadron of the Royal Air Force and commenced his 100 days operational tour in June 1944, and from 10th June to 20th September 1944, he flew 65 recce sorties in the Mustang and Hawker Typhoon aircraft, taking photographs and strafing enemy ground targets. 2 of these missions were outstanding examples of low-level flying, one over the bridges of Seine and the other over the Falaise Gap in Normandy, and both were achieved while facing a hailstorm of flak from the German guns on the ground. Majumdar's pictures of the Seine area and Falaise Gap served as pivotal inputs in Field Marshal Montgomery's plans for the Battle of Falaise Pocket that actually led to the decimation of the German army and the opening of the Germany-France border. And this was mentioned in his citation for his bar to DFC in January 1945, and therefore thus he became the most decorated pilot of the Indian Air Force. He was also in the same year featured by Life magazine as one amongst the 12 outstanding airmen of the world. After the war, Jumbo returned to India but fell victim to petty politics and racial discrimination. Despite his outstanding service record, he was primarily left to perform daredevil tricks in air shows, and on 17th of February 1945 at Walton Air Base, Lahore, the Hawker Hurricane that was being piloted by Jumbo developed a crash, killing him on the spot on impact. He was barely 31. This aircraft had a history of problems, but Jumbo, who never stood back from a challenge, dared to take it on with tragic results. To this day, his remains are buried at the Walton Cemetery with these lines etched on the gravestone, and I quote, "Go passers-by and do, if you can, as he did. A man's part in defense of liberty," unquote. The Indian Air Force today is a force to reckon with, and it rests on the laurels and the indomitable spirit of its pioneers who laid the foundation of this wonderful service that we all are proud to be a part of. In our quest for excellence, let us resolve to continue our service to the nation in whatever way we can. I hope today's seminar in the memory of Jumbo Majumdar would provide valuable insights on the evolving dynamics of air power. We now switch over to the launch of books, and I hand over to the MC. And I must also mention it's an unprecedented day for CAPS, where we are having 3 books launched at the same time on one particular day. Thank you, and Jai Hind.